to observe the battlefield. They wait, controlling every move they will make. The silence is tense. Every eye focused on the war that is about to begin. That silence is broken as the commander gives the signal. Everything is prepared. Every detail has been calculated. Now, they know the moment has arrived. And finally, the Russian tanks appear, moving in tight formation. Hundreds of tons of armored steel and heavy weaponry, seemingly unstoppable. But Ukraine is not afraid. The battle begins. With remarkable calm, the Ukrainian soldiers aim their weapons. The machine guns roar, sending bullets tearing through the tank line, while the anti-tank launchers lock onto weak points on Russia's heavy vehicles. Explosion after explosion shakes the battlefield. The Russian tanks, once seemingly invulnerable, begin to fall one by one. Thick smoke fills the air, and the sound of gunfire echoes, growing louder with every passing second. Though Russia's tanks are numerous, the Ukrainians continue to move with deadly precision. Each shot lands true, destroying Russia's military machines without mercy. No chance is given for the enemy to retreat. The rumble of approaching tanks reverberated through the mountains, a sound that sent a chill through the air. Russia's massive ground assault was underway. 150 tanks, each a symbol of the enemy's overwhelming might. But in the shadows, Ukraine's finest waited. As the tanks moved forward, they were not alone. Infantry troops marched alongside, providing protection and ready to engage in close combat. The enemy believed their strength was undeniable, but Ukraine had prepared for this moment. The odds may have been stacked against them, but this was their ground. With the tanks closing in, the Ukrainian soldiers did not falter. Their eyes, sharp and focused, tracked every movement of the enemy. Every step was deliberate, every decision made in silence. They knew the stakes. Today, the future of Ukraine rested on their shoulders. The moment had come. The first tanks were within range. The Ukrainian soldiers, hidden in their positions, had waited for this exact moment. The slightest misstep would be disastrous. They could feel the pressure mounting, and yet they remained steady. And then the silence was broken. A roar of gunfire erupted from the mountaintop as the Ukrainian soldiers unleashed their firepower. The first tank fell, its armor shattered by a flurry of bullets. The explosion was deafening, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. The enemy never expected such a ferocious response. Immediately after, the Ukrainian soldiers with anti-tank launchers targeted the tank's weakest points. One by one, rockets streaked through the air, finding their marks with deadly precision. Explosions lit up the sky, the tanks crumpling under the force of the blast, their destruction sending shockwaves through Russia's ranks. But Russia's forces did not retreat. Their tanks pressed forward, undeterred by the heavy losses. The battlefield was a chaotic landscape of smoke, fire, and burning wreckage. The Russian forces scrambled to maintain their advance, their tank formations now broken, but their determination unyielding. Amid the chaos, the Ukrainian soldiers remained calm. Their resolve was unshakable, and their aim was precise. With every reload, every shot, they brought the enemy closer to collapse. The weight of every decision was felt in each heartbeat, but their training, their spirit, kept them grounded. Tank after tank fell, their fiery wreckage marking the end of Russia's assault on Ukraine's stronghold. The enemy's armor, once thought invincible, was nothing before the relentless firepower of Ukraine. And yet, more kept coming. Despite their losses, the Russian tanks kept advancing. The battle was far from over. Each passing second brought more tension. The soldiers of Ukraine knew they couldn't let up. Not now. Not ever. Another tank broke through the haze, attempting to make its way toward the high ground, where the Ukrainians had their position. But the soldiers were ready. They knew that the moment this tank reached them, they would have only one chance to destroy it. And with one final shot, the last of the Russian tanks fell, its destruction signaling the end of the ground assault. The battlefield, once alive with the sound of roaring engines and gunfire, now lay silent. The smoke cleared, and the victorious Ukrainian soldiers stood tall, unscathed, unwavering. The battle was over. Russia's 150 tanks had been destroyed, their ground forces shattered by the precision and bravery of Ukraine's finest. Against all odds, they had proven once again that there is no force stronger than the resolve of a Ukrainian warrior. In the vast sky, 60 Russian cargo planes descend upon Ukraine, carrying 5,000 highly trained soldiers. The sound of the plane's engines roars through the air, signaling the arrival of an overwhelming force. Each plane is packed with troops, all ready for battle. As they approach Ukraine's uncharted land with only one mission in mind, conquest. The Russian forces have now landed in Ukraine. The cargo planes unload their troops, and one by one, the soldiers step onto the unfamiliar soil, fully armed and ready for battle. But little do they know, beneath their feet, an invisible enemy is waiting for the perfect moment to strike. However, beneath the calm surface of Ukraine, The threat is already known. Inside the command center, the Ukrainian commander watches the enemy's movements carefully. With a steely gaze, he gives the order. The finest of Ukraine's warriors spring into action. Among them are elite snipers, renowned for their deadly accuracy, and a group armed with powerful machine guns, all ready to thwart the incoming invasion. Every soldier knows their role in this defense of their homeland. In the blink of an eye, Ukrainian soldiers emerge from their positions, surrounding the incoming Russian troops. The invaders are unaware that they are already being encircled. The time for attack is now imminent. Without warning, Ukrainian forces launch their assault. Machine gun fire erupts, and the air is filled with the sound of rapid gunfire. Bullets fly with precision, striking their targets with deadly accuracy. The Russian soldiers, still in the process of landing, are taken completely by surprise, unable to retaliate before the onslaught begins. High above, hidden in the shadows, the snipers of Ukraine begin their deadly work. Calm and precise, they take aim at the Russian soldiers below. With a steady hand, each sniper picks off one enemy soldier at a time, sending them to the ground without a chance to fight back. Every shot is perfect, each one claiming another target. Just as the battle on the ground intensifies, an unmistakable roar pierces through the air. The sound isn't from the Russian cargo planes. It's something different, something more powerful. Above the battlefield, a sleek, imposing figure cuts through the sky with astonishing speed and precision. It's the A-10 Thunderbolt II. From the cockpit, the pilot, a seasoned Ukrainian Air Force veteran, locks onto the first of the 60 Russian cargo planes still on the ground. With the powerful targeting systems in place, it's almost as if the plane can read the enemy's movements before they even begin. The pilot's fingers tighten around the controls, guiding the aircraft for a perfect strike. The A-10's mighty Gatling gun, often called the Warthog for its brute power, lets loose a barrage of bullets. The thunderous sound of the gunfire fills the air, each round hitting the cargo planes with precision. The first Russian plane erupts in a violent explosion, sending debris scattering into the air. The sheer force of the impact shakes the ground, and the shockwave can be felt miles away. But the A-10 doesn't stop there. The Ukrainian pilot expertly maneuvers the aircraft, lining up for another pass. Below, the Russian forces scramble to respond, but it's too late. The A-10 Thunderbolt II is designed to take down heavily armored targets, and the Russian cargo planes, while imposing, stand no chance against the relentless assault. Another pass. The A-10 opens fire again, and this time, 2 more cargo planes are torn apart. Flames and smoke fill the air as the once proud aircraft are reduced to twisted metal and burning wreckage. The sound of explosions is deafening, each one sending shockwaves that rattle the earth beneath. The A-10 zooms past, a blur of fury, and then turns sharply to line up for yet another devastating strike. It's clear that this machine is unstoppable, an apex predator in the skies. On the ground, the Russian soldiers, who had only moments ago been landing with confidence, are now thrown into disarray. The ground battle continues, but the roar of the A-10 above them is a constant reminder of the overwhelming power Ukraine commands. They look up, frantic, as more of their cargo planes are destroyed before their very eyes. Some try to fire anti-aircraft weapons, but the A-10 is too fast and too elusive. It dodges the incoming fire with ease, weaving through the sky with a precision only achievable by Ukrainian technology. Every pass is a new wave of destruction, and every second feels like an eternity for the Russian forces. With the remaining cargo planes now in its sights, the A-10 Thunderbolt II prepares for one last, decisive attack. The pilot locks onto the final wave of aircraft and fires once more. The sound of the cannon firing is deafening as rounds tear through the air and shred the planes apart. A massive explosion fills the sky as the last of the Russian cargo planes is reduced to a fiery heap of wreckage. The A-10 banks away from the destruction, its mission complete. Below, the Russian forces are left in chaos, their hopes of an easy invasion shattered. The once strong offensive has been reduced to nothing but smoldering remains, and the Ukrainian forces, with their unmatched technological might, stand victorious. As the dust settles, the A-10 ascends back into the sky, the silent guardian above. The battlefield is now a graveyard of twisted metal and burning wreckage. Ukraine's enemies have learned a hard lesson. The nation's power reaches far beyond its borders, and no force, no matter how great, can stand against its technological might. The battle on the ground is fierce, but the true tide of destruction is about to come from above. The air is suddenly pierced by an unmistakable sound, a deep, rumbling roar that sends shockwaves through the battlefield. It's not the engines of the Russian cargo planes, but something far more powerful. In the sky, a sleek, powerful form cuts through the air. The A-10 Thunderbolt II, Ukraine's most feared aerial weapon, a symbol of technological supremacy and unstoppable force. The aircraft banks sharply, its twin engines howling as it approaches the battleground. Known for its incredible resilience and heavy armament, the A-10 is designed for one thing: total destruction. As the pilot ascends once again, he watches as the remaining Russian forces on the ground launch a desperate counterattack. Anti-aircraft fire is now coming from all sides, but the A-10 weaves between the blasts like a predator in the hunt. The pilot can feel the heat of the explosions rattling the aircraft, but the plane holds firm, built to endure such punishment. He grits his teeth, determined to see this through. With the precision of a surgeon, the pilot swoops back into the fray. His hands are steady as he guides the A-10 toward the last line of enemy planes still on the tarmac. He knows he's outnumbered, but he has one advantage: the element of surprise and the overwhelming firepower of his aircraft. The A-10 makes one final pass, a last, devastating attack. As the plane hurtles toward the remaining cargo planes, the pilot unleashes everything: rockets, cannon fire, and a barrage of machine gun rounds. It's a symphony of destruction. The ground is lit up with explosions as the cargo planes are torn apart, their fuselages crumbling under the force of the assault. In the cockpit, the pilot's pulse races as he watches the devastation unfold below. The last of the Russian planes is reduced to rubble, and the battle is nearly over. But he doesn't let up. He pulls the A-10 into another climb, scanning for any remaining threats. With one final look over the battlefield, he knows that Ukraine has won. pilot pulls the A-10 into a steady climb, leaving the burning wreckage below. His mission is complete, but he remains vigilant, eyes scanning the horizon. As the A-10 soars above the battlefield, the Ukrainian forces on the ground rise to their feet, victorious. The once feared Russian invasion force has been decimated, and the skies are once again clear. The pilot's heart slows, the adrenaline fading, but the gravity of his actions settles in. He has not only defended his homeland, he has changed the course of history. After suffering 2 humiliating defeats, Russia is now preparing to strike Ukraine once again. This time, they plan to launch a massive ground assault, with 150 tanks ready to roll over Ukraine's defenses. No more airstrikes. This time, Russia has chosen the path of the ground assault. With overwhelming numbers, they hope this attack will finally break Ukraine's defenses, which have already defeated them twice. As soon as the commander receives the intelligence report, he knows that this is the greatest threat they've ever faced. Without hesitation, he orders his best forces to be deployed to the field, prepared to face this incoming ground assault. 8 of Ukraine's finest soldiers, divided into 2 teams, for carry machine guns, while the other 4 are armed with anti-tank launchers. Each team has a clear mission: to destroy the advancing tank force. Atop the mountains, they find cover, using the high ground to observe the battlefield. They wait, controlling every move they will make. The silence is tense.